Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mindful Marathon Conversations. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Quirk. I'm a pediatrician and a run coach and the founder of Mindful Marathon, where I help make running easy and fun for busy professionals. And today I'm joined by a very special guest and a dear friend, Dr. Laurie Boge. She is a wife, an ER physician, a combat veteran, and the founder of GreenCloud Apparel. And she's also a dog mom and an avid runner. So I'd like to welcome her to the show, and we are going to talk all things running. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for everything you're doing. I think it's such a needed influence, like in our world, right? Like we're so busy, and to look at running like a chore, or if you don't approach it the right way. So to be able to have a coach like you influencing how we take on the sport makes it just so much easier. So I'm excited to talk today.
Yeah, and thank you for all you do. We'll get into that. I'm wearing some GreenCloud apparel as we speak. Sort of a personalized piece here.
Yeah.
So tell us maybe how did you were you always a runner?
No.
No.
So growing up, I was a swimmer, and I swam all through college. And the amount of time you have to put in for a minute and 50-second race, let's say, I mean, we were swimming like 20 kilometers
Wow.
a day to get ready for such a short race. And so obviously, once I graduated college, I was a little bit burned. That was probably my first burnout experience. Was I had put my heart and soul into swimming in college, and I didn't touch a pool for probably 18 years. I mean, for a long time after college. So when I started medical school, I knew I needed an outlet, and I was an athlete, so I needed something athletic, and I just turned to running because it was the quickest, cheapest, right, easiest sport that in 30 minutes you could accomplish something. So I jumped right into that sport, not knowing anything, but like wanting to learn everything about it. So I became a runner in med school. Yeah.
Wow. Did you have to run during swimming, or they didn't make you
rarely
Okay.
Our coach would say, do you want to do this hour workout, or do you want to go for a 10-mile run? And I would always say, I will go running. Like anything, like just to change it up.
Yeah.
Is probably why I chose emergency medicine also, but like any variety, excitement. So we would run, but just like not knowing really what we were doing. It was not to train for swimming, but just to mix it up once in a while.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. And how did you find your way to like long distance running? Or did you start out that way? Like, I'll just go out, and then you just kept going?
I think my first race was a half marathon, and I had the endurance from swimming still. And so I just like jumped into that. And then of course it was like, oh, I want to do a marathon. But years later, I actually enjoyed focusing on the 5K for a while and trying to get, a certain time. And that was a lot of fun. And a 5K to me is really, really hard. So so I bounce around. Marathons are a lot. They're so challenging to conquer, right? To get it just right. And so I'm not training for a marathon as of right now anymore.
Me neither.
We'll see.
Yeah. I always say we'll see. Yeah. I think, while you were talking about the swimming and how you took a long hiatus from it, I have a lot of runners who ran in like high school or college, and then I think maybe got burned out on it that way, and now they're kind of like coming back to the sport, but it's kind of like unlearning all of those habits, which die hard. from that time.
The reasons to run have probably changed, right? Like that's kind of what I found over the years. Kind of like the book The Giving Tree, where the tree over the lifespan gives so many different things. Running has kind of done that for me. So it really helped during the hardest times of my life. it got me through those. And then once you're kind of through the darkness and you're in a happy place, you have to be like, well, why am I running now? And so you start running towards something else instead of away from something. So yeah, it's just changed over the years. It's interesting if you stop and really think about why we're running and how that changes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think when I started, it was definitely a challenge, and it was something that I had always wanted to do. And I was like the person who just would try to go run. Like in theory, it all sounded good to me, but I would go out there and like huff and puff my way through a couple miles and be like, why does anybody enjoy this? Like it's so hard. But finally, like I don't know, it sounds so simple to just slow down, but like that is very hard for perhaps an overachieving perfectionist type, like who has it in her mind the way it's supposed to be.
Right. Right.
It took a long time to unlearn that one.
Yeah. And once you accept that and slow down, and then as you're building up and it becomes easier and easier, there's that sweet spot, right, where it's just so enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, we've all had to take breaks from injuries or life, and getting back into it. There's always that little bit of struggle because, you push your body a little too much too quickly.
Yeah. What has been maybe I don't know, it might be hard to pick one or two of your favorite, running experiences? Was it a race or like, a trail run in a new place? Or I don't know, I like to talk to people about that.
Yeah, I love trails more than the road. And going out, not kind of expecting anything from it, and then being pleasantly surprised with, just a new run or a long run. But there's probably so many, I can't just say one, but it would definitely not be like a certain race that I planned for, because I put so much pressure on myself there. So it's just, a trail run, not really thinking much of it. And then just the weather's perfect. You may see some wildlife. You meet a friend, something just made it extra special.
Yeah. It's like when the ordinary, I guess, becomes extraordinary.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Now let's transition this a little bit. How does running tie into GreenCloud? Tell us about GreenCloud and how that started.
So GreenCloud was a crazy idea that I've had ever since I started residency. I just thought, I think I could do something with these scrubs. Because back when I started residency, we were grabbing them from the OR, and, they were made for men, and it just nothing fit right or felt right. Although I did love those really, really soft ones that had been washed a million times. So that softness kind of stuck with me. And that was when I chose material. It had to be softer than the softest scrubs I've ever worn. And just over time, the idea would come and I would just push it away because I was a busy ER doc. And I thought, nothing about fashion and starting a clothing company. And so I just ignored it for a long time. And then finally I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I've done as much as I really want to do in emergency medicine. I want to do something different. And I'm going to go for this crazy dream that just keeps resurfacing. And, I happen to live in Miami now. So it was easy to find an incredible design team and production team. So we just have this group of women now that we all have our strong points, and we know how to ask and when to ask for help. And we just work really well together. So it's kind of an extension. My last big job was in academic medicine, where I sort of became the mother of the residency program. I mentored mostly the women, and men too, but all of the women. And this was just an extension of that. Like, how can I make women in medicine feel special, look special, know how important they are and how desperately needed they are to stay in medicine. And if I can make them feel a little bit better getting dressed each day and make their day a little bit better, I mean, what's more amazing than that? So I just went for it. In June of 2020 is when we actually had our first meeting. So it was probably the worst time ever to start a business. But
no, the best
we did
times.
it. We did it like masked up, a year,
Yep.
however long later, when finally our team was like unmasked. I'm like, oh, that's what you look like?
Amazing.
We've been working together for so long. We didn't even know what each other really looked like. So yeah.
Well, while you were talking about that, I was thinking back to my time, probably as a medical student, where we got our scrubs sometimes out of a machine, and it felt a little bit like winning the lottery when you got like the really soft pair.
Yeah.
Like,
if you could find those right in your size, it was like, okay, I'll wash these. I'm not gonna turn them back in.
Yeah, but like we're both maybe on the petite side, but like the legs were always like way too long.
Oh, I mean, it came up. You'd have to roll it down like 3 times and then tie the knot.
Yes.
And I'm like, we're supposed to be taken seriously. I don't feel good doing this. Like, how, I don't know. So I just decided to go for it.
Yeah. How has running helped you perhaps in your journey as an entrepreneur and a business owner and a CEO of this company?
I mean, so much. Like almost every single morning, I'm going to go for a run. I mean, I would say 6 days a week. I try to take one day completely off just to recover, but the rest of the week, that time, my mind is just sorting everything, right? Like all the ideas and a new line or color combination or what's coming up next. And that the run it really is my time to kind of go through everything and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, stuff I stayed up all night worrying about. I can figure it out on the run. So that's when I organize my day. And also just like, I'm thankful for what's going on. And, if I don't have that run, the day's off.
Yeah.
So it's super important.
I would say it's creative time for me as well. I think I know a lot of artists, and I don't know if it's the same way for them. Like they can have a quiet space and think up all of these wonderful ideas, but it comes to me when I'm running, and sometimes to the point where I actually started recording on the phone because I'll forget things when I get back home. So just
that's a great idea.
And talk and just say, like, I thought of this. Some of them are really wild and have not come to fruition yet, but just so I don't forget.
But you never know, right? No, sometimes I'll have to just repeat it a couple times, like every half mile until I get home so I don't forget. But no, the phone's a great idea. Yeah.
I've also laid out some like long runs, like Tony's looking ahead to the Chicago Marathon in October, and like thinking about just the training plan and the long run build. Like I've thought about that, but then of course when I get home I need the calendar. I can't do that all in my head, but but it's definitely creative time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like it's everything time, right? It's depending on what you need that day. And that's what's so beautiful about it, is you think you're just going for a run, and then you kind of go into whatever needs to be addressed. You don't know what you're going to really be thinking about, but it sort of comes to you, if that makes sense.
I also feel if I do a run before going to work, before the office, I definitely approach the day in a much different fashion than if I don't have a run that morning.
Yeah. And there are times, I mean, I don't want anyone to think that it's just so easy to jump out of bed and go for a run, because it's literally, there's a little bit of struggle almost every day just getting out the door. But I never finish a run going, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Right.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of times where I've missed the run because I wanted that extra 45 minutes of sleep, or I just didn't feel like doing it. And the day's a little bit off. And if I go 3 days without running, you don't want to be around me. Like it just it just doesn't work out so well.
I think after the last half marathon we did, I had intended to take at least like a full week off, and it got toward the end of the week, and I did like a little, it was supposed to be a walk, but it turned into a little bit of a run walk, and I saw one of my friends on the trail, and I was like, Linda, you didn't see any jogging?
Right, because that downtime, especially after a hard race, is important
It
just
is.
for recovery and to
Yes.
prevent injuries. But yeah, it can be difficult.
Just a little jog, you know.
Mhm.
It's fine. But yes, I agree. I think it brings something different to the day. But yeah, there are days that I don't run before going to work, but I do notice the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for maybe those athletes out there who had a different sport, you know, coming from swimming or another sport and just want to give running a try?
Yeah, I mean, just don't put the expectations on yourself that you have to, you know, be the top in your age group, or like just really every day getting out there is a victory. And so just find the joys in it and don't put that pressure that maybe you're used to as an athlete in a different sport on yourself. And you know, when you don't have such high expectations, that's when happiness happens, right? Because it's reality versus minus expectation. So if you just don't set the bar so high, you'll really enjoy it a lot more, which is hard to do if you're a competitive athlete, but give it a try. I mean, just use the running as more like the meditation and I'm going to organize my day and I'm going to feel good about everything after the run. And, you know, you'll find the joy so much easier that way.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
And then after a few months, you know, you have to get through that initial new sport phase, right? Where it is going to be a struggle to run a 5K or a 10K. It just takes time. Anything we do that's worthwhile is going to be a little bit of a struggle and take time, but then it's so worthwhile. And then once you've done that, find a coach or training program, something, and plan your first race. But just for a few months, just really enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that. And then you're probably the old competitive nature dies hard. So getting back into racing, it comes back.
Yeah, that will always be there when you're ready. But it's not really fun to race when you're not ready, especially in running, especially if you do a longer race. But in any race, I mean, even the shorter distances, if you're not ready and you go out really hard, it's a suffer fest. Yeah.
Yes. We're not about the suffering over here in Mindful Marathon. Trying to make it a very great experience for all.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Can you tell everybody where to find you and where we can get more GreenCloud apparel?
So basically everything's GreenCloud Apparel. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, our website, GreenCloud Apparel. And GreenCloud comes from, you know, are you a black cloud or a white cloud in medicine? I just remember always hearing that, and oh no, this doctor's working, they're a black cloud, and you know, the night's going to be crazy. And I always looked at it like, I don't know if I really believe that. And I kind of want to change the culture. And so what if we just become green clouds, right? Like, let's just change it up and mix it up and bring a different energy to medicine, which I think we desperately need. So that's how GreenCloud came about.
When I graduated residency, my going away present at the brunch was a black umbrella.
Oh no.
Yes.
Well,
indeed.
now you need to paint it green.
Yes. So I love that. I love the name and changing this.
So that's really, you know, we make amazing scrubs, but we really want to bring out the courage and confidence in women in medicine and have a small part in changing the culture in medicine.
And you're having a big impact.
We're trying. We're still small, but we're growing fast and we've got big dreams. So we're trying.
Well, I'm very grateful that I know you and I'm around to see all of this emerge.
And I can't wait till we go for a run, hopefully soon.
Yes, hopefully soon.
All right.
And maybe not, but not in Florida.
Yeah. Well,
not
in February,
Florida in summer.
Florida. Not in the summer.
February,
unless
Florida.
you jump in the ocean at the end of the run. That
sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me, and thank you everybody for listening. And I will leave all of Dr. Laurie's links below.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. If you liked it, please subscribe and share it with a friend. And if you are a newer runner or a runner who hasn't run in a while and you're looking to get back into the sport, you can find out how to work with me over on my website, which is mindful-marathon.com. See you on the next episode.